This is Cas with Anora, and you're watching the Chat with Chaps live show.
Good evening, Millwall fans. It's been an emotional day today for us Millwall family, as Neil Harris has resigned from his position as Millwall manager or head coach, if you want to call him that. Today, we're going to discuss what this means to the club, reflects on his contributions this season, and we want to hear from you, our listeners, about his role in Millwall's last two seasons, really. Today, ahead of you can see we've got a lovely, fantastic lineup there of panelists, guys that are very, very informative and very, very expert in their field, and they all know what they're talking about. So you're blessed and very lucky and fortunate to have these guys here. Just a very quick word on Harris. Since taking over in February, Neil has guided us from the brink of relegation to one of the best point tallies in the Championship so far. With 74 points in 36 games, he brought fight, spirit, passion back to the Den and made it clear to his players what it meant to wear that Millwall shirt. So without further ado, I just want to hand you over to the guys here. So firstly, to my right, which is that way, is Chris Chaps. How you doing, Chaps? You good?
Hello. Yeah, really good. Well, no. No, actually, what am I talking about? No, I'm not. You can tell I've just got off a work call. No, I'm not good. I'm not good at all. I'm actually quite upset, to be honest, that Mr. Harris is leaving us. I think when people take a step back and realise what this man means to us, you can start to paint a picture of just what we're about to face. So yes, but I'm only on for a short, brief 10-15 minutes before I come and say hello and leave you in much more capable hands of the rest of the clan. But good evening to you all, chaps.
Good evening, chaps. We're paying you by the minute, so we want to make sure we get our money's worth before he shoots off. To my left, that way, is the one only Sicilian godfather himself, Angelo Miliotto. How you doing, Angelo? How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm gutted, mate. Absolutely gutted. Obviously, I'm a huge Harris fan, mate. So, but it's like what I said earlier. There was all these. We were hearing the whispers that he was gonna go at the end of the season, and like I said earlier, when you know you're gonna go, mate, it's hard to plough through to the end of the season. So, I was shocked to happen today. But I'm not shocked that he's gone. But I'm gutted he's gone. And like, do you want to say thank you for everything he's done, mate? You know what I mean? The true number one legend of the club, mate.
Cheers, Angelo. And before Paul mentions it, I'm not going to say the words. I'm going to say underneath me is the one and only Disco Steve. How you doing, Disco? You good?
Yeah, I think like the guys have said, a bit shocked from the news today. I think, it was bubbling around that it might happen. Thought maybe early next year or certainly the end of the season. But today was a real shocker. And I think I'd add to that, I think shocked at how we've left ourselves now. I mean, really weird to play these last two games. Could be a great masterstroke, could be an absolute disaster. And then you start looking at who next. And I don't know. It's not looking hugely rosy right now. I hope that changes, but tough act to follow without doubt.
Lots to discuss, Disco. You're completely right. And to your left, which is that way. You know what I'm talking about.
It's not easy, Joe, is it? It's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not.
Take the piss out of me when I do it. It's not easy.
Exactly. It's someone who's been a long time friend and sort of dips in and out of the podcast is the one and only Ben Green. How you doing, Ben?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I think like the rest of us, shocked, gutted, surprised with today's news. Just what Steve said there. It's clearly very interesting that the club have pictured it as a mutual decision. Let's have it right. It's definitely not right. It's definitely come from Harris himself that he wanted to step away now. He's got in there and obviously there's been discussions, but this is definitely not a mutual decision. This is Harris's decision to walk away. And again, just like Steve said, on initial thoughts, I know before we get into a little bit more detail around this, I'm really not inspired at all by the names that are being bandied about at the minute. And just, as I said earlier on the space, this is a very, very, very big appointment now for the club. We can quite easily go down a slippery slope. I think the challenge that the next manager has got is just monumental. And my concern, again, with what's going to happen moving forward is, are we going to be looking at a bit of a yes man just in terms of how the club want to run and operate now? I know the world of football's moved on and we have moved away from managers over coaches. But, yeah, I'm worried that we're going to get a big enough Millwall character now that's going to be able to, be a Millwall manager and also take the direction of the club in the way it wants to. So, concerned, but, gutted. And, like what Angelo said, thanks to Neil for everything he's done. He's been superb.
Brilliant. Cheers, Ben. And sorry to take so long to get to you, Paul. So about 15 minutes to get around the six of us there. But to my bottom left here is the one and only Paul Donovan. How you doing, Paul? You good?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Just echo the rest of it. There's not much more to add really at this point, other than just thanks for everything, Neil. I said the only thing I'm slightly more positive, but I'm just as gutted because I didn't want him to go. But as I said in the chat, I feel relieved that he's gone for him because he wasn't his best self, and you can tell it was getting to him, and he was doing things that isn't Neil Harris. The man manager was kind of getting things wrong, and I think he needed to step away. So I'm glad for him, and I'm hoping that he can kind of walk away with ZOI, get two games, especially tomorrow. There's no reason why we shouldn't sell out now. He deserves that. It's the very minimum, and he's getting his name sung for 90 minutes pretty much. And that's how he deserves to go out.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying there, Paul. Guys, there's lots of people in the chat at the moment, which is really good to see, up to 214 already. So that's fantastic. We will get to the comments. But again, because there's some of us on the Chat with Chaps show tonight, the live, it's going to be a bit more of an open discussion. So feel free to sort of dive in and contribute as you see fit. Chaps, I want to start with you first, though, mate. How would you summarise Neil Harris's legacy at Millwall, especially during this last spell as Millwall manager for you?
Joe, I tweeted it earlier. He's done a remarkable job, and that cannot be argued with. Like fact, he has amassed 54 points from 33 games, extrapolated over season. That's playoff form, right? So I don't care that no one can argue with fact. He has done a fantastic job. You also got to remember what the state we were in as a club at that moment in time, and it's easy to forget that. We were going down, and I will argue with anyone that we were doomed, right?
I remember that feeling well. It was horrible, wasn't it?
It was, mate. And look, the masterstroke to bring him back. A lot of the people involved in that decision are not here anymore. And that is the thing that concerns me. You know, the only way that we come out of this in a positive light is if we get the next managerial appointment spot on, because I cannot see any other manager, as I currently look through who's available, who can get more out of this current group than Neil Harris did. And that's my concern. If anyone thinks we're above getting relegated, I know we're sitting in 10th spot, but trust me, we're not. We've been there before back in 95 where things can go tits up.
Well, look at John Eustace last season, chaps. I mean, Birmingham were flying from the start, weren't they? As soon as they changed his appointment, what happened to them?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And I've gone a roundabout way of answering your question, Joe. But in terms of the legacy, in my lifetime, he's the only true Millwall legend, in my opinion. The guy, what he has done for this football club as a player, as a manager, I don't think can be matched. And he deserves the send-off of all send-offs tomorrow. And I personally, for him as a person, I think it's fantastic for him that he can go out his way. And I just hope tomorrow night we give him that send-off. But listen, that's my point of view. I'm open to other opinions, but for me, I think he's been let down. And I really do hope that we can shed a little bit more light on it as the days that come.
That's brilliant. Cheers to that, chaps. I appreciate it, mate. Anyone else want to sort of step in there and just talk about or summarise what Harris has meant to you in his last stint there as Millwall manager and what he's done in helping us, you know, firstly avoid relegation last season to then get us off to a decent start this season?
Do you know what worries me, Joe? Is that Neil Harris is Millwall. He is a Millwall fan. He loves the club. You know what I mean? He's pure Millwall. And for him to not be able to work with the people above him is what really shits the life out of me. Because Rowett's, once the new hierarchy come in, Rowett was off quite quickly. Obviously, Joe Edwards was a good idea, but it ended up a bad mistake. And for Harris not to be able to work with the people upstairs, knowing that he loves this club, I'm just worried, is the next guy going to be able to work with these people upstairs? You know, when we had John Berison, you know, God bless him, you know, we had the most stable club in the Championship, yeah? I now feel that we are completely unstable. And that is what really shits the life out of me, that if Neil Harris can't work with these people, who is going to work with these people?
Well, it's going to like what Chap said there, Angelo. Like, you know, you're looking for a yes man, aren't you, now, potentially to come in and be that type of manager or that head coach that's going to sort of do as they're told a little bit. I mean, is that what we want? Is that what Millwall want as their leader, as the manager's going to take us to the next level?
Well, I know they want to go in a different direction now. You know, they're doing it with the recruitment and the young players, etc., and they look like they want to do that with the manager side of it. Listen, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that they crack it. But I'm worried, mate. Massively worried. And I'm like Chris. I'm worried we could go down this season, mate. I really am. I'm really petrified about it. But
guys, what for anyone's welcome to jump in here. What do you feel was his most defining moments as Millwall manager, in your opinion, since he took over this last stint? What sort of brought that big memory to you fondly? If you know what legend, like, you know, what's your fondest memories?
Mine would be the home form overall. It wouldn't be one moment. I weren't at Southampton away. I mean, that was probably a big deal. But just bringing back the fact that enjoyable going down the den again and getting results and getting us up for big performances. One thing I did think was strange is we've kind of gone, if you remember before, it was always about staying up, right? And that was a be all and end all, and looking down behind us. And I think that's what suits Neil Harris, and he loves that underdog status, and he's kind of turned the den, and that worked because it worked at the den and we was the underdogs. But if you want to look higher, I do think it's obviously harder to have that mentality if you're planning on beating everyone away. Technically, we struggle more away, don't we? But with Gallen saying the other day about how he thinks we're already looking behind us, it weren't a good signal for me.
Ben, with Harris obviously having such a strong connection with the Millwall fans and the Millwall fan base, how do you feel his departure is going to affect the relationship with the fans and the club going forward, in your opinion?
Well, I suppose it's going to depend on who you're kind of blaming for this, right? Is it the club's changing, it didn't suit Harris, or if you view it a different way, the club's changing, so Harris should change to how we're changing? Do you get what I mean there? I suppose it's going to be on what side of that fence you're on. For me, look, his statement today just summed up what he means to the club and what he is for the club. He's everything, right? So, listen, I kind of touched upon it in my intro, but the club have got a very, very important decision now. If it does go south this season, who's you ultimately point fingers at then? Because it's going to be on them, right? Because you're going to turn around and say we're in a very stable position and they didn't give a club legend, a man that we all love, the tools to succeed when there was no reason not to. So, yeah, it's a very, very, very big appointment. So far, you could argue what they've done upstairs has worked, i.e. getting Harris back to save us from relegation. But as I say, this is a big one now. The interesting thing for me is, again, I touched upon it on the space earlier, is that potential list of candidates that we would have had at the end of the season. Will that change now? Does that change? Are the names different now? I'm assuming they're going to be quite drastically different. It's a bit more of a project manager you probably could have looked at the end of the season, knowing that we were safe or we'd hang on to the playoffs, whatever it might have been.
Ben,
now it's a very, very different job.
If I may, just back to that point there, it's like Edwards all over again in terms of he could be the right manager for the long term, but he's got to keep us in this league, right?
Yeah, and there needs to be a genuine split to that now. You almost need someone who knows how to steady a ship. Look, we're not in a rocky place, right? But I think we're massively overachieving for the squad that we've got. And I think that's the thing. We could quite easily go on now and not win for 4 or 5 games, just because there's a lot of uncertainty around the club. So, yeah, I think that list of candidates in my head, it's got to have changed now. So, yeah, it's just interesting to see who they have lined up or who they are potentially speaking to. As I said, the people and the names that I've seen so far, not doing it for me.
Chaps, can you just speak a little bit about the connection again between fans and board? I mean, prior to Harris, he made a big point, didn't he, of sort of bringing the Millwall back into the club, getting the players fighting for each other and be proud of wearing the Millwall shirt. And there's a connection there with the fans again. Angelo and I spoke off air before this. We sort of mentioned about how boring it was at times watching like the row at football and everything else. There's no passion in the Den, but the Den has become a fortress again, hasn't it, chaps? And I think a lot of that is to do with Harris getting the fans on board. How are we going to sustain that going forward without Harris in charge?
Mate, this is what I'm saying. We've got short memories, right? Can you remember how mundane and how boring it was? I mean, I'll be totally honest. I think the Saturday just gone, the game against Coventry was probably the most boring game, actually, in the Harris regime.
It was flat, weren't it? Very flat.
It was flat. We played our part in that, but obviously the players have to give us something to cheer about. But very short memories. Harris was the glue. In a period of instability for various circumstances, from the tragic loss of JB to big decisions being made to change the leadership at the top. Harris was the glue that kept that stability. The one person that understands what it's about and how to get the most out of this football club, which is to unite the fans, the players, and the club holistically, because that's how the home form comes. Is another manager going to be able to do that? I don't know. But what I would say is I think we're all going to have to play our part in making sure that we're not looking over our shoulder this season, for me. I genuinely think it's a perilous position that a new manager would come into right now.
Great.
SA might not even be here, Joe, as well.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
The only thing I'd say, though, is you say about short memories, kind of, but I don't feel like there's many of us that actually wanted him gone anyway. Like, that sounds silly because on the poll last week I said I think he's going to leave, but this is because of how he's been acting the last couple of weeks. I honestly think if you asked 90% of Millwall fans 2 weeks ago, should Harris stay, I think they would have all said yes. Yeah. So I don't think the fans wanted him out. So I honestly don't believe that that's the reason he's gone.
So do you not think? So do you not think you don't think the resignation was expected given like the results? Well, after the Oxford game and the pressure of the fans, do you think his mind was made up prior to this, or was this like a reaction to the fans booing, for example, Paul?
I think that's the straw that broke the camel's back, maybe. I think that's the bit that's tipped him over the edge. It's this sort of time now where the recruitment team will be setting final targets for January transfer window. So you've got that. Obviously, he was a nightmare, and rightly so, for most of August because of it. He kind of forgot about it, got behind the team, and he seemed a lot better in himself. And then it's kind of come back to the start of December again. They're obviously setting out who they're going to go for. And it's just unlike Neil. The comments he was making and stuff like that. So I think it's got under his skin. He couldn't let it go, and he's decided, you know what, I'm better off out of this. And I applaud him for that, because the worst thing would have been to stay and make it worse, and then have us remember him in a different way because of if he continued to act in a certain way. I'd rather him go out tomorrow, get that reception, and hopefully it'll be quite emotional, to be honest with you, because I don't think he'll come back again. But yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with the fans. Maybe like a fraction.
Yeah.
And Angelo, what do you make of the timing of that? I mean, Paul alludes to the fact that he respects Harris making that decision and doing what he's done and resign when he's up. Do you feel that maybe the timing is right, or do you feel he should have waited to the end of the season before he did that? What do you make of that?
Well, Joe, I think there was rumours that he tried to quit earlier on in the season, mate. There was rumours flying about that. So the bottom line is, mate, right, is that when Harris came back, he had all these people around him, yeah? He had Cav, Aldo, yeah? That was his people. He's come in, done a fantastic job, yeah? Like what he done last season is just phenomenal. And all of a sudden, new guys come in, all his mates have gone, and there's a clash in personalities. He can't work with the guy. It's plainly obvious, yeah? He can't work with Gallen. And he feels that he's going to have to go because he can't work with Gallen, mate. So, it's. I'm just worried, mate. I'm worried with the people that are upstairs. That's what it all boils round to, mate. We had a really, really happy camp, and with all these changes, we now got a very, very unhappy camp, and I'm worried.
Disco, going by what Angelo just said, do you feel there are other circumstances other than results, performance of players, factors maybe in board politics or lack of resources or personal reasons? What's your thoughts? What's your opinions on him making a decision?
Look, there's clearly something gone on, hasn't there, with the hierarchy and the structure. I remember coming on to Chris's end of season, at the end of last season, and we talked about what an unbelievable job Harris had done. And listen, I'll be honest, I'm a massive fan of his. I wasn't sure when we went back for him, like when he came back. I thought, oh, this is a bit of a gamble, and I'm not sure it's the right decision. And he absolutely proved me and everybody wrong. He hugely overachieved. And I think, like Paul said before, the way that he got back our home form and brought the club together was absolutely outstanding. And nobody else could do that. Like Chris said, nobody else would be able to do that. I just saw the future of Neil Harris in a role, sat up in the director's box, director of football or communications or some, role that means he stays in the club and keeps the Millwallness in Millwall. So, but look, so there's obviously other factors, the way the club, the route the club are going, the players that they're bringing in. Look, I think on paper, it looks a good strategy, but as a manager, when you've got to go and get results, we've come a little bit short a few times now. Once we've had a few injuries, you suddenly think, oh, have we really got the strength in depth to get the results that we need? So that's him hurting, thinking, I could be doing so much better with the right players now, not necessarily for the future, for now. So it's a tricky one, isn't it? But huge appointment, as we keep saying. A lot of people are coming in and saying, don't be negative about going down. Trust us, guys. I don't think any of us are being negative. We're being realistic. If we're not careful, momentum can be a terrible thing, and you get on that negative spiral. I'll balance that with the Edwards was hugely worrying, wasn't it? But when he finally realised, hang on a minute, this new approach that I want to implement isn't working, I'll go to a bit more of a tried and tested approach. We actually got some good results. So whoever comes in, the direction to them has to be, whatever your plan is, ease it in gently. Just deal with what you've got now, get results and build from there, rather than try and evolution rather than revolution.
Nice one, Disco. Ben, talk about replacements. I know it's quite early to sort of think about it just yet, given the news today, but what type of manager, and I'm not talking about names of managers, what type of manager do you feel will be a good fit to replace Harris? Are we looking for a recognised sort of championship level coach? Are we looking for like a younger sort of talent maybe, or someone even connected to Millwall Football Club, like a Steve Morrison or someone like that? What's your thoughts? What would be the type of manager that will come in now and sustain the good work that Harris has done, but then also take it to the next level as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's the $1 million question. I'm pleased I'm not making that decision, mate, because it's going to be a tough one to tick all those boxes and to please the fans in there as well, right? Yeah, you missed that one out. So, of
course.
Listen, I think it's just going to be with who aligns with this new way of moving forward, how they want to manage how they want to manage Millwall now. If someone wants to come in again, I'm just going to take a name that I've seen mentioned a couple of times and that we spoke about earlier. If you look at a Mark Robbins type, he's very much a manager, right? He'd done everything really with Coventry. Is he going to want to come in and be told who he needs to be signing or who's going to be signed for him, I should say?
And I think also, Ben, sorry to interrupt you there, but I think also a lot of these managers, I think Neil is connected with quite a few championship level managers, and I'm sure a lot of them will be asking for his opinion, what's the club like and all that, and Neil being Neil is going to be quite honest. And I mean, I'm sure he's going to big up the fan base and everything else, but he's going to make it quite clear to them this is his reasons for leaving. I don't think many managers will stand for being in that position and kind of have their hands tied and telling what they can, what they can't do.
No, exactly. And looking at it from an outside point of view, people will be looking at this and going, if Neil Harris can't succeed there or something's pissed off a club legend that much, am I going to be able to go and do a good job there, or can I succeed there? So, in answer to your initial question, though, mate, I suppose if we're going to change it, we might as well go down the Joe Edwards type route. And I just mean like a young, exciting coach, because in my opinion, I don't see the reason to sack Harris, who's maximising what he is out of this squad and getting everything he possibly can out of this squad, to go and replace him with another, say, steady Eddie championship manager. I just don't. What's the point? And again, this might piss a few people off and be surprised at it. But if we're going to do this new way of playing young players and commit to it, I'd almost we might need to go down to rebuild into that and come back up stronger, like an Ipswich have done and completely rebuilt. Do you know what I mean? Because we're going to go from being a steady championship side to now, okay, well, we're not signing players for the here and now, which is clearly, in my opinion, why this hasn't worked or what Harris has been pissed off about, to then signing for the future and just saying the club want to play players to build for the future. We're just going to have to go all in on that. And it's almost going to be disregard results for a couple of seasons. We're building for the next 2 or 3 years. If that's what we're doing, then as I say, we might as well go all in on it and completely change, manager, style, everything, in my opinion.
Cheers that, Benny. Angelo, what's your thoughts on the impact of the squad? We haven't talked about the players, the squad at the moment. I mean, how might this change the players' mentality? Like, are there individuals there that might, thrive from a new manager or even struggle under a new manager? How do you think that kind of changes that now?
Well, we heard it so many times, like, post-match interviews where the players are really like bigging up Harris. Do you know what I mean? Like, loads of them said it. We love playing for him. He's a great motivator. His speeches in the dressing room. I heard when he rejoined us, he's called the meeting, and his first words to everyone was, "This is my fucking club, and we're going to sort this out." Do you know what I mean?
Love that. Yeah,
that was his first words when he came back, and. Jafik Tanganga, he's made it pretty clear that the reason he joined us was because of Neil Harris.
Yeah,
Neil Harris wouldn't leave him alone over the summer. He made that silly joke about comparing Neil Harris to Jose Mourinho, but mate, I don't think it's a piss take or a joke. The guy looks up to him and feels like he's a great manager. He's a great man manager. So I think the majority of the players are going to be gutted, mate. And I've been in a job before where I worked for a manager and he left, and I was gutted, and it will affect performance, mate. There's no doubt about it. So I think we need to we can't have Barrett looking after the team again, mate. After Middlesbrough, I'm hoping they've got somebody in line, and just fingers crossed that. But I do believe we need experience. I know this Matt Bloomfield looks like, everyone's saying that, it's almost a deal, whatever, with the odds. But I'm worried because, it's not easy to manage Millwall, and I think it's going to need someone with a bit of experience.
Cheers, Andrew. Before we go to Paul next, guys in the chat, I mean, it's incredible how many are there of you with us at the live event, which is fantastic. And I'll be honest with you, I apologise. We've got so many comments coming through. I can't read them all because obviously we've got so much to talk through, boys and girls. So apologies if I'm not going to be able to read through your comments, but I'm glad you're talking amongst yourselves in the chat there. You're answering a lot of questions for each other. So apologies once again. When we're back to normal shows again, I'm sure we'll have more time going through the comments. But for this one, there's so much for the guys here to sort of talk through. I won't be doing you guys any justice by bringing comments up anyway. So apologies, but I really, really appreciate you being with us this evening. Paul, what's your thoughts on the impact of the squads? Obviously, the squad, you can argue, is quite divided with the old school Harris mates we talked about in the past, and then the new age sort of players. So are there any players, in your opinion, you feel that from this moment going forward may now struggle under a new manager? And are there some that might thrive?
You want me to say Bradshaw, didn't you?
Well, that's one.
If I take the whole squad first as a whole, I think the senior players are first of all going to be gutted. It just depends how they react.
Just say them. Who are we talking about? What sort of players?
I'm talking all the ones that are out of contract at the end of the season, pretty much. Your Lenny's, your Muzzers, your Lenny, Muzzer. Obviously, Harding's going anyway, but your Bradshaw, Sav,
Cooper,
Joe Bryan. Cooper would be gutted anyway, but obviously, I mean, he's staying. I think he'll stay for life, probably.
Is Honeyman due for
Honeyman's up for renewal.
Other one, yeah.
And I think Harris would have been fighting their corner, even if he wasn't going to be here. They knew that he'd be fighting their corner. The fact that Gallen come out the day before the Coventry game, did a very good interview, which I actually enjoyed. But then he said about the fact that, which we didn't really need to know. I mean, I'm glad because I like all the information. But he said that we're not doing it. We've had a couple of agents approach him from them players that are out of contracts asking for new deals. And he said, we're not doing any new deals until we're mathematically safe. So, I mean, that might have even made Harris's mind up a little bit as well, because then he's the one that's going to have to deal with the players day to day. They want to know what their future is going to hold. And then he's going to be dealing with the arguments. Well, if I get you safe, what do you know what I mean? What's in it for me? Are you just going to turn around the next day and say you're not going to give me a deal, or you're going to half my wages? All of the stuff that for the fans we don't really think about, but all that crap goes on behind the scenes. Yeah, that's exactly it, mate.
Jump in on that as well, Paul. Imagine, like you said there, Paul, Harris every day saying to all those pros, come on, mate, give me 120%. I'm guaranteeing you a contract. You know you'll get one. If I'm not here next year, I'll definitely get it for you. Yeah. And then Gallen comes out and torpedoes that by going, oh, actually, no, we're not doing that. Like,
yeah, we ain't doing that.
I mean, that just in itself is just...
Well, to your point there, Ben, you saw the reaction that from the players like Coops and Saville when Harris come back again after Joe Edwards, almost like, thank God for that. You know, our careers are back on track again. We now got a future at Millwall again. You know, you can see the relief almost, can't you, Disco? Yeah. And I think a lot of that will stem. I mean, there's good and bad at Disco, isn't there? I mean, there's certain players that perhaps are not seen as Harris players. I'm talking about players like Marku maybe and one or two others that might get more of a run in now, get looking under another manager going forward. How do you think that might change for one or two of those players, managers, and players?
Yeah, look, it's all a level playing field again, isn't it? So that's it's for all of them for different reasons. Like we've said, the older pros and the guys coming out of contract will be shitting themselves, no doubt. Some other players will be thinking, great, this is going to be a great opportunity for me, depending on who comes in. But the whole reality is it's uncertainty, isn't it? And that's the concern. You asked earlier, what was the magic dust that Harris had? And Paul's bang on right. Getting our home form back and getting our club together was a massive part of it. But without a shadow of a doubt, his absolute main attribute is his man management. And it's not people management for the diversity mob on here. It's because it is men that he manages. And he clearly knows how to get the best out of his players. And, you know, even somebody not as good as the rest of the bunch, he will get them running through brick walls, you know, and really, you know, performing to the best they possibly can. That, you know, is absolutely, you know, you can't buy that, can you? You know, that's a real quality of a manager. So that's what we've got to get, is a great coach and a great forward-thinking manager and someone who can develop youngsters. But they've got to be a man manager who gets the best out of people. Not bloody easy. So, look, the players... It'll be a mixed bag, won't it? There'll be some thinking this could be a good result for me, others not so. These next two games are massive, aren't they? They're massive for us, first and foremost. Massive for Bomber. Really want him to go out on a bloody high. It would be great to give him two great performances and wins so he can literally be carried off the pitch, which he would deserve, you know. So, but it could go the other way, but hopefully not.
No, I don't think it'll go bad, even if we lose. And or not, he wouldn't deserve that.
No.
Hands. Oh no.
I'll be surprised if for not every minute of that game tomorrow night that fans will be chanting Harris's name. You know, even the so-called boo boys out there, I think they will be giving him the respect he deserves. You know, and rightly so. You know, we play against a team at the top of the league at the moment. You know, it's not going to be an easy game. Let's be honest with you. But if there's anyone that can pull off a 1-0 win tomorrow night, it's Harris, isn't it? I can't see anyone else really.
Do you know what, Joe? I don't normally say this, but I couldn't give two shits about the result tomorrow night. I couldn't give two shits. All I care about tomorrow night is that we give the legend the right centre. That's all I care about.
And to your point, Andrew, I mean, okay, his last official game in charge will be Middlesbrough on Saturday away, but we know most of the fans, home fans, exactly going to be there. Not many of us are going to be lucky enough to go to Middlesbrough away to give him the last sort of send off, but certainly at the Den, you know, at his home, his club, as Neil describes it. It'd be so lovely to get that then really packed out tomorrow night and give him, as you say, the send off that he rightly deserves. Ben, what do you think about the direction of the club going forward? Obviously, we know there's lots going on behind the scenes about recruitment, and a lot of it. I mean, Harris was very clear in saying at the player sponsorship last Monday that he's got no say in recruitment going forward whatsoever. How is this going to impact whoever comes in, to replace Harris? Because obviously, one of the provisos is that you're going to come in, yes, as head coach, but you've got no say in recruitment. I mean, is that going to be a challenge to bring somebody in under that kind of assumption?
Well, I think, like I said earlier, mate, it's certainly going to rule certain managers out, isn't it? And certain manager maybe of a certain ilk, I wouldn't say older managers, but maybe the older school. Well, your managers versus your head coaches, I guess, right? You people you traditionally say are managers. So again, like your Mark Robbins, I would automatically say possibly not. It is the way that football's going now, right? Everyone has got a director of football.
So that rules out Jose Mourinho, in your opinion, then?
Yeah, unfortunately, mate. I think you might want to be more hands-on in the recruitment side.
Can you imagine that? Imagine that, Ben, telling Jose, you're going to come in as head coach, but you've got no say. What goes on with our team? Fuck that.
Could you imagine? Well, I mean, that's that. It seems like that's what we're going to be doing now, right?
That's what they want, don't they, Angelo? That's basically what they're looking for. Looking for a yes man. And to Ben's point, is there any good yes man out there that's going to take our club and carry on the good work that Neil Harris has started?
I'm worried he's just going to bring one of his mates in, mate, like someone he's worked with before. You know what I mean? There was like
Lee Bowyer.
Yeah.
End the string.
We'll lose audio in a minute.
Hey, you know what will happen if he brings in one of his pals, mate. It will kick off, mate.
That's the worst thing about it, isn't it? I mean, unlike his dad, his dad. I never knew his dad, at all. But just from the outside looking in, I always felt he was somebody who was proud of what we did as a club, what we achieved. But he let the people do what they need to do. It was their jobs. He didn't get involved. Didn't get involved in the management side of it. He didn't get involved in what the direction going. He trusted the team around him. And I'm not sure one of you guys mentioned it earlier. By losing likes of Kavanagh and Aldridge and a few others and Billy that left the club, suddenly we kind of lost our identity a little bit. And it's been a new age now, a new way of working, and it's a gamble. It could work. It may not work. And I think at the moment it's hard to sort of say how it's going to pan out. This could be. I think this could be the best thing that's ever happened to us. By bringing somebody in, it's a new way of working, but it's just risky, isn't it, Angelo? I don't know whether we're at this point of the season where it's worth taking that gamble, in my opinion.
Well, we spoke about this before we went live. It looks like we're trying to copy the model of like a Brentford and a Brighton,
and a Norwich.
Yeah. The only difference is that the two guys at the top end of them two clubs are phenomenal business.
Really good guys, yeah.
And I don't know if you know, but the owner of Brentford and the owner of Brighton, they used to be best mates and business buddies.
Really?
So, yeah.
I'm sure the Norwich guy went to United, didn't he, as well? I think. I'm pretty sure
he just been binned, didn't he? Did he get binned last week or something?
Who's that? Yeah, but again, I hear you saying that they're a level above, aren't they? What we've got at the moment.
Yeah. So listen, if we could replicate what Brighton and Brentford done, fucking hell, mate, that would be brilliant, mate. But that is really hard, and I don't know if we've got the right men upstairs to do it. I hope I prove wrong, mate. I really am, because them two.
To jump in on that, Angelo, as well, like the timing of that. I was chatting to this about my old man, and the timing of when those clubs started it. I would say the recruitment world and scouting networks were far less extensive as they are now, and they were taking your likes of Neil Maupai's right out of the third tier of France. But every club in every league in England now will know about every player in the world. So for us to now start it, I would say it's going to be very difficult for us to do. So, yeah, they're the types of clubs you want to be basing yourself on or trying to model yourself on. But they started it at a time where you probably could go and pick a player or two out of a league that might not have been as well known or scouted. I think it would be really tough to do now.
Paul, to Ben.
Joe, can I just on the recruitment front? Can I just ask everybody? Is it 100% the manager? And I know Bomber has said this, but I think he's pissed off, so he might be exaggerated. Is it 100% that the manager would have no say? And what I mean by that is, would they not say, I need a striker, I need a left winger, I need a centre half, for one? And two, we then say Bomber was very, very instrumental in bringing Jaffet into the club. So he did have some involvement. So
Edwards brought him in, mate.
Sorry?
Edwards brought him in to begin with, though, didn't he?
In the deal in the close season.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. But we're talking to us. Obviously, me and Chat sponsored Tanganga's shirt, and he made it quite clear the first time round when he signed for us on loan, that was purely down to Joe Edwards. He said that was because of the relationship he had with England under 21s, I think it might have been at the time. And he said that was a big part why he joined the club. When he actually left and then came back on a perm, he made it quite clear that Harris was the reason why he decided to come sign for Millwall in the summer. So to your point, initially it was Edwards, but Harris was a big part on that. So I do feel there's a place there for Harris. I think, he has played a big role in recruitment. I think he will have a say in certain areas or certain positions that he wants filling or extra players. But with the type of player or the type of the personnel, it sounds like he's got no say in it. Yeah, he came out very, very clearly, and I don't mind saying it now because obviously he's resigned. In that room, it was almost like before the fan could finish his question, he interrupted. He's like, "I've got no say in it." He's like, "I've got no say in recruitment. Nothing to do with me. Nothing to do with me." And the way he said it is almost like he's fucking pissed off by it. But that's how it is, And I don't know whether that's the modern way for every club. I think some clubs will have a relationship with their manager where they trust their manager and they probably sit around a boardroom and they talk through names or whatever. But certainly, I got the impression from Harris he had no say in recruitment. And again, that could be another reason as to why he's resigning and why maybe they felt the need to do it now before the January window comes, because he's probably thinking, what's the point of me hanging around for January when I'm not going to be happy with the players they're looking to bring in,
Phil made the point, didn't he? He said earlier he's going to be looking at it as I've only got 6 months left on my contract. So I want to come in, the players I want to come in January. If we're still 4 or 5 points off the playoffs with a game in hand, I want players that can come in and affect it for the second part of the season, get us into the playoffs. He doesn't want to, Dan Kelly again, because Phil used that, we're going to be looking at bleeding him into the team in 2 or 3 years or whatever it might be. It's no good to Harris, is it? So their conversations and, where they're at, it's just going to be very, very different.
And also, Paul, there's rumours about, again, we don't know how this is true or not, but allegedly we're hearing that there's things going on behind, upstairs where they're telling him what players to play. And the trouble is, he's getting the flack from the fans for playing certain players. But what we're hearing is that maybe potentially, again, this is allegedly, we don't know if it's true or not, that he's been told that certain players got to play. It must be really uncomfortable for him. You look at the last game, for example, when you've got no Josh Coburn up front and you look at your bench, you've got likes of Langstaff, who, with respect, he tries hard, but is he a championship player? You've got Ivanovic, who I know he paid a lot of money for, but he's 19 years of age. He's still very raw, Paul, isn't he? And the other option is Bradshaw, who's 32, 33 years old, who he's seen better days. It must be so hard and frustrating for him to try and take us forward, Paul, and not having the players at his disposal to get that going, and then getting the flack from the fans, and getting booed from the fans for not getting results.
Yeah, I mean, you need a certain type of player. For Neil Harris to be successful, he's a good manager if he's got the right players. It's a simple. And some of the, like your Kellys and stuff, he's not physically big enough and strong enough to do exactly what he wants. He kind of plays, if I could describe Neil Harris football, it's no mistakes. So it's more about protecting your area, protecting you've got to be in this place at this time, and you kind of work your way across a pitch. Yeah, that's it. So if you're losing your best players, I mean, and he's, to be honest with you, it makes sense him leaving because if you've got no Coburn for 2 months, you've got no Cooper for 2 months. SA apparently isn't far away, which is obviously a positive. Is there anyone else I'm missing us out long term? I don't know. But even with them two, you've not, if he's been told, well, we're not going to bring a centre half in, or you're going to have to wait till Coburn's back to have your main number 9, or we're going to bring you a young kid in on loan, he's probably thinking, I can't do it. For the football I play, I'm not capable of coaching the team to play any other way than what I can.
Disco, what do you make of what Paul's saying there? I mean, we also heard Steve Gallen say in his last interview that we're looking to potentially bring in 1 or 2 players. I mean, I think Harris, if he had his say, would probably say we need 4 or 5 players. And I think Phil Clark mentioned that earlier on the space. Yeah. I mean, does that all amount to frustrations, Disco? Do you think that's another part of him saying, you know what, enough's enough? I can't be any longer.
Yeah, I'm asking what involvement does the manager have, but I think Paul's just made it, really clear there, or a good point that they've probably look. They're sitting down with names now, aren't they? Saying we're looking at this guy, this guy, this guy, and he's probably thinking, "Fuck me, hang on, I need this or this." Don't not rate the guy, but I need it now, not like 6 months or potential. So yeah, that's probably what's really brought it to a head. Is that frustration that we're so far apart in our thinking. Do you know what I mean? If there was a happy medium of, well, look, we'll get you one experienced centre half and one less experienced backup, and vice versa with a midfielder or a winger or a striker. But if it's all one way, that must be frightening the life out of it. And let's be honest, people that have different opinions on Harris, love him, hate him, all that. It's his reputation that's on the line. He gets given players and they're not quite up to it and he can't get the results. That's it. Look, who do you look at first? It's not the team, is it? It's the manager. And it could all go pear-shaped for him. So I do get that. Listen, he's not blameless. We've all criticised some of his decisions. And in view of the frustrations he's got, you sort of think, well, why have you done that? And it may have been to make a point, which I'm not too overly pleased about that. But, he has made mistakes and he could have used players more, subs, as Angelo always says.
Earlier subs.
So he's not inexcusable, but without shadow of a doubt, there's a huge. They're on totally different wavelengths, aren't they? The board, the Gallen, the board, and Bulmer. That it's got to a point where he's obviously said, "Look, I might as well go now." Rather than,
do you know a weird thing that happened as well, right? Do you remember when we had Rowett would slowly bring his own guys in that he worked with before, didn't he? Do you notice Harris didn't bring one guy in from any of the clubs after he left Millwall? No Cardiff, no Gillingham, no Cambridge. There might have been some starlets there. He didn't bring not one player in. I found that weird.
But again, I guess, Angelo, to the point we mentioned earlier, I think a lot of that has been taken away from him. The autonomy to create anything. It's almost like you do as you're told, sort of a little bit. And Harris, been a bit of a maverick and being his own man. He's not going to be a yes man to anyone, is he? Ben, just want to ask you. I mean, obviously the cracks we like to feel are kind of been there in the last sort of few weeks. We noticed it in recent Harris interviews, And it's almost like a little bit out of character at times when he mentioned about players. I think he mentioned it against the last game where he talked about how the wing, he's got a young winger out of the box the last few minutes. He's got a striker who's out of the box. What he's doing is digging out players, say they're not good enough or ready enough at the moment. Do you think that was uncalled for? Do you think it's just got to the point where enough was enough? He thought, you know what, fuck it, I'm out of here anyway. I'm going to tell you. It's because what was also frustrating for him was that he comes out with things like the word thickos. Now, that's not necessarily named at the fans, is it? For all we know, that Thicko statement could be named to the board upstairs, as in they don't know what they're doing, they don't know what they're talking about. They're telling them what to do, but they're Thickos, So, what do you make of all that leading to the point we're at the moment?
Yeah, I think as it's gone on, and now we know has happened what has happened. I think the Thickos comment, I've gone the other way. Obviously, when it first came out, I was as shocked as everyone. Going, cool, that's a bit. Even for Bomber, that's probably a bit over the line, that one. But now I think it's just aimed at upstairs. I really do. I think there was such disconnect there in what he wanted and what he needed, and where the club clearly see the direction going. I just think it was aimed at them. And even the digging out of players, that's probably just another cry for him to say, look, I need players to affect the game now and what I want to do now. As I said earlier, I've only got 6 months left. Give me tools to do my job now. It's no good to me having these youngsters that I'm not going to be able to do, or I haven't got the experience in game, like you're saying there. Got a young winger on the edge of the box and we need to score. He's just saying I need people with experience to help me now. And when I say that, there's always a lot said, oh, Harris wants to sign older players. I don't mean that. I just mean he wants players of experience who have played in the Championship or at a decent level. It doesn't necessarily mean he wants a 30-plus-year-old winger. But I think now looking at it and putting it all together, and again, we're probably putting it all together and coming up with 5 and the answer's 4, right? But it just seems to me this is all pointed at him making statements to the board and a bit of an outcry to the board rather than it being directed at us at all. I think that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in quickly and just say one thing though? See, I find it the Fickos thing, right, is a bit water off that. I think it's stupid if whoever it was aimed at, but it was daft, right? But see, I'm more agitated. It's the fact he's gone or going has changed the show, because I would have been a bit more like, what are you playing at if he hadn't gone? But because he is gone, it's like when someone dies, you don't want to talk ill of them. But like the comment about the young winger and the striker hanging outside the box. What about the 32-year or 31-year-old Joe Bryan left back that we had a corner at the end of the game, the keeper's in the box and he shanks it straight out for a goal kick? Why not bring that up? Why dig out the two young kids? And that's what he kept doing, and that's why that's why my attitude toward him was changing, and that's why I'm relieved he's gone.
But is that to Ben's point? Is that his way of getting these little digs out here and there? Not at the players, but the actual players.
Because how can you dig it? Like Amaku might not be good. He might not be defensively as responsible as other players, right? But how can you dig him out after he tried his best? He didn't come off. Yeah. He tried his best. Out of all the subs that come on, Ivanovic, he was very quiet. He didn't really get in the game much. Amaku was taking people on, driving into the box, pulled a few balls back, won us a few corners. He's the last person you can try and dig out and say, well, he might have not been in the right place at the right time. But then you've got your experienced left back, and he shanks a ball out from a corner from a goal kick in the last second.
Last minute with the goalkeeper up as well, yeah.
But that's fine, because that's an experienced player. So that's what was agitating me, because I just think that sort of side was unnecessary, and that was why I was saying that I'm relieved, because I've never seen him be like that. But to then kind of go with the thick hose and then dig out the kids again, I just thought.
But again,
it's not going to end well.
But again, Disco, Disco, to what Paul's saying there, again, once again, is that another dig at the board? Yeah, they're pushing for him to play the youngsters, play your Kellys and play your Ivanovics or whatever. And he's thinking, look, they can't give me what I want. I mean, Jesus Christ, I've been slagging Bradshaw off recently. I think he's pointless. Yeah. I think we've all been saying, why is Bradshaw starting? Why is he playing? But I tell you what, he is a proven championship player. Like, technically, he might not have the legs anymore, but he's still got the finishing in him. I mean, I watched training session last Monday when I did the player sponsor, and on training, I know you can't say training, but on training, he looked quality. I mean, every shot, it was hitting bottom corners and finishing. When Langstaff was on there, he was barely hitting the target. A lot was going over the bar, go wide the post, and he gets two chances, Langstaff, in the last game against Coventry. And what does he do? He skies them into the top tier, And I think it must be so frustrating for Harris, because he can clearly see the players are probably not up to the right level, and they've signed his players in without him wanting them in the first place, but then being told to play them as well. Disco, it must be so frustrating. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I agree. But then I do see, and a lot of people will say as well, that people like Langstaff could possibly have had a little bit more game time. And people will say, well, he's had the most game time of any striker in the club.
Can he get better though, Disco? For you, 27 days. We're 28 in February. Langstaff. Yeah, he's not exactly a youngster.
I when he had his run in the team, where he played a few games. And I'm sure at the time, most people were saying he slotted in quite well, and he looked everything apart from putting the ball in the net. He looked a much better prospect or option than Bradshaw. A little bit sharper, a little bit buzz, some good. He'd set goals up, hadn't he? Assists, stuff like that. So yeah, and I do think. Look, I was really disappointed with him Saturday, especially with those two shots, to not work the keeper. I thought, come on, a striker of your ilk, whether you're desperate to impress or not, you need to work the keeper, and you should be working on that all week to make sure. And the keeper might make an easy save, but you never know. Once it's on target, could take a deflection and he'll have made a career out of that. So he was disappointed, but I do see the other side of the coin. Harris hasn't given a few of these players, and not necessarily full games, but I go back to Angelo's point. 60 minutes, stick somebody on for 30 minutes instead of bloody 90 minutes at Oxford. I
want to come to Angela. Before I go to Angela, I'll go to Ben first. Just the reason why I'm bringing up the subject about players and stuff is how pivotal, how big of a problem was that for Harris, that he had this sort of friction with the board upstairs, because obviously quite clearly he didn't think they were up to the level where they need to be at. So how difficult must that have been, and how important was that in him making a decision in resigning on the back of the players he had available to him?
Yeah, I'm going to say probably it's a huge part, right? So, as I keep saying, mate, he's in win now mode. He's only here for 6 more months or 7 or whatever it is.
And he's judged on results, isn't he, Ben?
That's all he's going to be judged on. And whether we want to hear this or not, in my head, he wasn't signing a new deal at the end of the season. Unless we got promoted, he weren't staying here. Even if we got in the playoffs, got to the final, got beat, I don't think he was staying here. I think he knew he was here for the time period the club brought him back for, and that was it. So I think in his head, again, like Phil said, he's looking at his next job as well. He needs to. He's putting himself in the picture.
It's his reputation, yeah.
Of course it is. So he's here for a win now. If the club's got a longer-term strategy, which I'm by no means saying is wrong at all, by the way. I know it sounds like I am. I'm just saying we've got a very different picture, club and the manager, and that can never work in any line of industry, let alone in football. So I think that's all it is going to be, mate. If he's had a conversation and said, look, we've got long-term injuries, I need support in January, and as Steve said earlier, and they've come out and said to him, look, we're only going to be getting 1 or 2 in, he's probably going to be going, well, yeah, but what is the point? I can't do anything with that. I can't get you to where I want us to be, for example. So it's going to be, yeah, I'd say all down to the ability of the squad or where we're at, mate, and then who he had available to bring in. I think it's going to be all down to that.
Before we go to Angelo, John, just on your point there, mate. I mean, I'm not saying that Tom Bradshaw is a championship quality striker. What I'm saying is he's the only player who has probably proven they can play in the championship, or at least technically he has the ability. The point I'm trying to make is, it's rumoured that Harris made this decision weeks ago, and it's only come to now that he actually resigned. But what I'm saying is, you look at what the players he's got to work with. You know, I think Josh Coburn, in some ways, kind of gave him that hope that, you know what, we'll be all right. I think we can win games here. But it's just funny how since Coburn got injured, that's when it all went pear-shaped, didn't it? It's almost like he gave up and he started playing Bradshaw because Bradshaw was the only player, I think, technically, who could probably give him what he needed, or at least take chances and whatnot. But to your point, yes, he's not quite a championship quality player at the moment, but for what he had at his disposal, that is, you know, what his reasoning, I guess, you know. Angelo, again, that Coburn incident, you know, him getting injured, being out for 8 weeks, is that also pivotal? Is that another straw that broke the camel's back, do you think, if you're a Harris?
Obviously, I'm a big Harris fan, yeah, but the guy did make some big mistakes, in my opinion, yeah. So the only striker, in my opinion, that can play that lone role is unfortunately injured, which is Coburn, yeah. You know, the minute he made his debut that day, you could tell in 20 minutes this geezer can play that role. Where Harris has messed up, right, is when he put Langstaff on his own up front. Who did Langstaff have supported him? He had Watmore, Honeyman, and SA, yeah. In my opinion, if you want to play one striker, like let's say it's Langstaff, yeah, then no problem, play Langstaff, but you've got to put 3 dynamic people just behind him. You've got to put Idemo Amaku on the left. You've got to put Esse in the number 10. Put Aziz on the right. You've now got 3 guys that could create some chances for Langstaff or Bradshaw, yeah?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But what Harris done was relying too much on Honeyman. I don't know any Millwall fan who says that Honeyman is a number 10. I don't mind Honeyman playing, but put him in midfield, mate. Yeah, and I think that is a big error that Harris made with the front foremost.
It seems, Paul, with the loyalty that Harris had to certain players, obviously Honeyman being one of it. It seemed like it worked well for him when we're winning games and doing well. Because a lot of fans were saying, "Oh, you know, Honeyman's a big contributor towards that. He allows players to play." But of course, when we're not winning games or not scoring goals, suddenly it's like, well, no, Honeyman isn't the right sort of person. Do you feel that sometimes his loyalty to players kind of costs him a little bit at the end?
Slightly, but I mean, we haven't got, there's not much else. It's hard because, like I said, I can't defend him with some of the stuff because I feel like, going back to what you said a couple of comments ago, to deviate a little bit, he should have put his arm around players. If he come out Saturday and went, look, we didn't have enough quality, but I've got a couple of young kids that have come on, they've tried their best. Yeah. Then I do think that's a different way of managing. And I thought that would be him, to be honest with you. So I'm very surprised he didn't go down that route. What was the question? I can't remember.
I'll just say about his loyalty to certain players. I mean, there's questions over Joe Bryan. Should he be playing? Should Danny Mack be playing instead of him? He seemed to sort of stick by his so-called friends and trusted players that he felt were experienced, weren't they?
He has. He definitely has. I mean, it's hard because we're on 20. Is it 25 points we're on? So it's not been a bad season. 12, half of them points come in 4 games. We'll see my missus more of a 10. I don't. But yeah, it's hard because I don't want to just say things for the sake of it. So I don't want to say he is too reliant on the same people. But I genuinely think in his head he believes it. I don't think it's for show. Like, I'm not playing Kelly because whatever reason. I think he just doesn't believe in it, and how he plays, it probably wouldn't work for a Kelly. If we can get someone else in that plays more through the lines and people get time on the ball in different positions, it might well work. Kelly might come in February and he might actually play a few games. It might be quality. Yeah. If we're telling him that we're going to lump the ball over the striker's head and then he's going to go and press 100 miles an hour, then it probably isn't going to, because that is what Harris tactics were for Honeyman. Play up to the striker. You're not going to win a first ball unless it was Coburn. So Honeyman then runs around like a maniac trying to win the ball back. Once he gets the ball, we're probably going to lose it. Rinse and repeat.
Well, Dan Kelly's getting a battering tonight, isn't he?
It's not. He might be quality, but he might be quality. But it's just, you have to have the players that suit you, didn't you? That's the thing. If we go and get someone that's going to play total football now, then we're back. We're in up shit creek. We're fucked, because you're going to get back. Cooper's going to be on the ball. We're going to be struggling trying to pass it at the back. It's not going to work. We need someone that's going to do a bit of both. That's why I said Tony Mowbray. I feel like we need someone that's, before we go down this, if what it looks like, we want a bit more football route, we need someone that's got a bit of both about them. We need someone that's not afraid to just go long, but also can build patterns of play and show some of these young players off.
That's a really good point, actually, Paul. Not easy, but if we could get a manager that could transition us from X to Y, you're absolutely right. Be very difficult, but would be the ideal. Look, going back to that point though as well, it's this ongoing point in it of he plays his mates, Harris. Look, the reality is a manager is playing people that he knows he can rely on, and for what, as Paul says, whatever tactics or system he's got, who's the best person to do that role? Honeyman drives you bloody bonkers. Defensively, very good. Creatively going forward, awful in a 10 role, should never be in that role. You're absolutely right. But he knows what he gets from him, and so he's stuck with him, wrongly in my mind, but rightly in his mind, for stability and all that. And look, what did we say earlier? Again, Angelo, I think you mentioned, most managers go to a club and they bring in players that they've worked with before. They're not their mates, it's people they trust. They know what they can give them, and they know, I'm guaranteed I need this type of player. I know I can get it with this guy. So, that's natural. But has he made mistakes? Absolutely. And he's never going to please everybody. But he ain't done. He can go away with his head held high that he's done fantastic this time round. Most definitely.
Okay, going back to your first point there, you said about and yours, Paul, about sort of a manager coming in and doing that transition piece, right? How bad must it have been behind the scenes, or how bad must Neil have been feeling to have walked away at this point? Because why would he have not just seen it out for the remainder of the season? How bad must he have been feeling like to go, I need to go now. Like, I need to be out of here now.
And with respect, Ben, sorry to interrupt you there, but if it was a Rowett or Joe Edwards who's not really affiliated to our club,
that's what I mean,
it's an easy decision for him to make. But for someone like Harris, who loves Millwall probably more than anyone, and probably most fans do, he's a fan. I hear his family are Millwall fans. It means so much to him. So to your point, Ben, it must take so much for him to sort of do what he's done. Yeah, to make that statement. And
I don't see the point of doing that transition piece now. He's gone now. We might as well just go at it 100% the other way in the club, the direction that they want to go in. We might as well just do that now. But it must have been so bad for Neil, or in Neil's head, or in Neil's world, for not to see out the remainder of the season. That's what I'm kind of struggling with.
And that's what worries me. That's what really worries me. How hard is it to work for these guys?
Well, this is what I'm saying. I mean, you talk about, the fans' expectations, what we want from a manager, but it's important equally. We need to attract a manager. How is this going to be seen, Angelo, to a manager coming out, looking in, thinking, is this an attractive job? won't be funny. There's not many managers out there going to be queuing up for this, especially knowing that you've got a manager like Harris who's done really well. He's been one of the most successful Championship managers in the last, 10 months since he joined in February last year, accumulated as much points. And even he has resigned off the back of he can't work with the board. And it's quite clear, it's not because of results. It's not like he's fighting a relegation battle at the moment. It's quite clear he's leaving because he's not happy. So how is that going to be an attractive proposition to any manager coming in now, thinking, you know what, I'll have a bit of that,
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the case, Joe, because there's not many manager jobs available anymore, is there? In the Premiership, yeah, I think 85% of them are foreign managers. They come from abroad. So the next jobs are in the Championship. So no matter how bad they might think it is upstairs, everyone's going to want the Millwall job.
They're going to do it. Do you think so?
It's a big job, mate. Championship at a high level. And then they're going to come in and think, okay, I'll have to try and work with these guys. Do you know what I mean? But, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We mentioned doing about Championship manager. We mentioned about young managers. We're talking about up and coming managers. Have we thought about going overseas and getting a foreign manager? We haven't done that yet, have we? I mean, will that work? How important is it to get somebody that understands our culture as unique to our club? Or do we just think, you know what, fuck it, let's go abroad. It's worked with players. It might work with managers as well.
Well, we got one of our guys in the podcast, Jesper. He's telling us all the time we should look abroad for players, and why not for a manager, mate? I've got no issue with that.
Even though Marigrag, what his name is, Ivanovich's uncle, on social media. At the moment, I'm sure he's an agent for a couple of coaches out there, Paul, isn't he, as well? I mean, he's been sort of like trying to tout his guy.
Jukanovic. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. He wouldn't last. He wouldn't last. He's very opinionated as well. That Jukanovic. He's a very good manager, but again,
when you say he wouldn't last. He wouldn't last with the fans, or he won't last with the board.
No, with the ball, but not even putting it too strongly on the ball, to be honest with you, because I think they've got a lot bigger job than they realise, and I think if you're going to go down this route, you're going to be spending a lot of the money that you've got in from Fleming, and if SA goes, the money's going to be there, and I don't think they're going to do too much till the summer, but you're going to need to spend a lot. You're going to put your money where your mouth is, basically.
But this is the worrying thing, though, isn't it? You hear what Steve Gallen says the other day, Paul. He mentioned about potentially
January's so hard, though, mate. January's so hard. I don't know why, but you listen to any podcast, any manager says that January is a fucking nightmare because no one wants to talk to you. Then the last week, everyone puts an extra zero on the price, and if you want a player, you'll pay it. If you don't want the player, then don't bother.
Your best hope it's a loan market, I think. Players are not playing many games, which might suit us. To be fair, it might suit us.
It does, but then they won't be fit. That's what we did with Jeff. If you remember, Jeff, the first couple of games, I remember him at QPR, and I was thinking, oh, blimey, that's not the Jeff. I know it was early days.
Look, Obafemi. Obafemi, the same thing. Well, it took him a good 4 or 5 games, isn't it?
4 or 5 months.
4 or 5 months, yeah. He left. It's true. He actually left by the time he was actually fit.
To be honest with you, I've got this vision now of us getting some foreign manager, and his first interview being
speak English.
Being like Borat, That would be hilarious, wouldn't it? With the guy at Chelsea who used to be the interpreter. Little fat guy used to stand behind.
Yeah. Fluent in Italian and eating pizza, wasn't he, apparently?
Yeah, but one thing to throw in, Joe, someone put in the comments earlier, that's 4 managers in 14 months. We're like Watford at the minute, aren't we? It's like, that's just not Millwall, is it, at all?
Wait, do you know what? In the chat, there's a lot of people asking for Big Sam, mate. I keep seeing his name, Big Sam.
I've seen that.
Bolton, a neighbour. Shall I go and knock on his door?
Again, guys, in the chat, if you're listening to this, put your names of the managers you would like to get in. Realistically, I mean, I know we joke about Jose Mourinho, but let's be honest. Let's see if there's anyone that we feel we could probably attract or we could possibly get in board. It'd be interesting to see if we get the same name come up like a few times. So again, in the chat, put your recommendations of who do you think we should go for. Guys, we've been on here for about just over an hour now, so we're probably need to wrap up soon. But before we do so, I want to start with Ben, then Angelo, Paul, and Disco. What would you say is your favourite memory of Harris, Ben, as Millwall manager? In his last tenure.
Well, it's just going to be probably quite broad, but just keeping us up last year, mate, because we were dead, buried, everything in my mind. We were going down. We were League One bound. I'd never seen us under Edwards, towards the end of Edwards, I was genuinely like, we ain't going to win a game for the rest of the year, and we're going to lose 3-0 every week at least. So for him to be able to come in and turn that around, and not only turn it around just to like scrape safety, but where did we finish? 13th in the end.
Yeah,
I mean, that
incredible,
job can't be underestimated. Like it's mind blowing to think. And then to go on
just to add to that, Ben. Sorry, Ben. Just to add to that, he since February last year,
that was my next point. Yeah,
74 points he accumulated in 36 championship games. That's 26 points from his final 13 games of last season, and 48 points from the first 23 games of the current season. So over that period, Mill's record under Harris
48 points
is 48 points from his first 23 games. So he's appointment. So he's approximately 21 wins, 11 draws, 4 losses, give him a win rate of about 58% during his second stint, which is incredible, really. We think about it.
Nothing more to be said, mate. Move on.
Whoever comes in, we ain't getting that. It won't be the same.
And also, just sorry to interrupt you again, Ben. So also to that point, it's up until Saturday's game, and we'll discuss it. Neil Harris's side has only had one loss in their last 10 games, dating back as 1st of October against Watford away, and a very narrow 1-0 win in South Wales. So 1-0 loss, sorry. So again, it's just remarkable, really, of what he's done for our club.
I mean, Joe, you're much older than me, so.
All right, less on the much, Ben. One match would have been.
Was that 4 or 5 there? I'm not
There's
sure.
about 6 I counted there.
I'm pleased everyone jumped in on that. Anyone, has anyone else seen that as Millwall manager, those sorts of stats? Because, I mean, I haven't since I've been a Millwall fan. I mean, that's just mad to be talking about that, and then us sitting here to say that he's leaving the club. But for him to keep us up last year, mate. I mean, just what an unbelievable feat that was, genuinely. Because I said I thought we were dead and buried, and it was just, we were 100% League One bound. So that for me. And
Angelo, I want to go to you next. What's your favourite memory of Harris as Millwall manager? Before you say that, I just want to give you a very quick stat here. With Harris in charge, Millwall, obviously, we know he's made the home of fortress again, which we haven't had under Rowett or Edwards, to be fair. But Millwall have won each of their last 3 home league midweek games, the evening games. We won our last 3, all 1-0, and we haven't won 4 midweeks in a row since October 2001. So the games under the lights, when we want the fans behind them and really kind of like backing them, that hasn't been achieved since 2001. We're talking like 23 years ago. And if we win tomorrow night, we actually break that record. Can you see that happening under Harris first? And of course, what's your favourite memory of him?
On a side note, have we got a light show tomorrow night?
Is this one of the games we picked out for it? Should be not.
I think so.
Fucking hell, it's a wrong time, isn't it? It is a wrong time for a fucking sideshow. Yeah. God.
Yeah, I think my biggest memories of Harris is all them brilliant FA Cup wins that we had, mate. I'll never forget that time where there's that picture of him barking at the bloke to take the replay off Cooper's handball.
Yeah, take it down. Take it down, didn't he?
But I think it was the FA Cup. The FA Cup days that he gave us were phenomenal, mate, honestly. Like the Leicester one, that's probably the noisiest I've ever heard to death.
Well, what about Eddie's last tenure, Angelo, since he come back?
Since he's come back here? Do you know, it's like what Ben said. It's like it's just the general everything. It's the there's not one specific moment that I can pick out. I just think he's done a great job, mate, and the way that he just gets everybody working so hard for him. But all them figures that you just read out, they're phenomenal, mate, and it's going to take a good man to do as good as what he's done for us, mate.
Yeah, cheers, Angela. And Paul, what would you say is your favourite memory of Harris as Millwall manager's last stint?
Well, without echoing, obviously, it's the same. But the only thing I will say as a different, not favourite, I wouldn't say my favourite memory, but when I just looked at him and I thought, do you know what you'll do for me? It was when Sarkic passed, and then he had to do a video and he was saying about he had to go into dad mode. And he had to kind of rally around the players, and it stopped being about his feelings and how he felt about it. He was making sure all the players were okay. And I just thought, as a geezer, he's just such a top man. So I think that was the minute I just thought, that you'll do for me. I'll have you.
Awesome. And Disco, what would you say is your favourite memory of him as his last stint as Millwall manager?
I think one specific, one general. I think the specific one, as Paul alluded to earlier, I wasn't at that Southampton game, but that was quite unbelievable, that first game. Not only to rally the team, but
it's incredible, wasn't it?
Win at Southampton. And we went 1-up and they equalised. And then we got a winner, you know, it was Jaff.
Tanganga header.
It was unbelievable to get that. And him at the end taking the applause but saying it's the players, you know. And so that was fantastic. Got us going right straight away. But overall, for me, the memory, and it does go back to his first stint as well, but absolutely this time around, is his ability to get us up for big games. I mean, we do not take it for granted because fucking Rowett didn't do it, you know, for the big games. And fingers crossed it's tomorrow night is one of those. He gets us up for it and gives us a team and, more importantly, a result that we're all proud of. And you'll be hard to replace that. Definitely.
Lovely memories from you all there, guys. For me personally, you know, and I've said it, you know, from a very sort of early part of him coming back last season. For me, he brought Millwall back. For me, like he brought that passion and that desire, and maybe, you know, fall in love with going back to. I was actually looking forward to going back to watching Millwall again. For a long time, never had that feeling, and I think you can see the attendances have risen as well. You know, there's been a few more sellouts. You know, even just like, you know, average teams, not necessarily like your Leeds or anything like that, but there was a real kind of buzz around the fan base. You know, he gave us our Millwall back. You know, he got the players playing for the shirt again. And for me, that was my biggest memory. You know, he made that den a fortress, and I actually look forward to watching us again. And for that, obviously, I thank him. And it's big shoes for a new manager to come in now. You know, to come in to replicate what he's done there and carry that good work on. It's not an easy feat for anyone. One question I want to throw in the group there, guys, and feel free to come in as you please. Is where do you see Neil Harris going now, next in his manager career, and could you see him returning to Millwall, but maybe at another capacity someday? Anyone just dive in.
I think his stock is really high now, mate. So he should get another job in the Championship, I think. And yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, I'll take him back for a third stint, mate. But it would obviously have to be once Gannon goes, I would imagine.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I think he will get another job, probably Championship level, but it'll be he'll get a firefighting role, you know, where somebody's desperate to stay in the league, maybe Plymouth once Rooney goes. Although he's brought in
Mike Phelan.
Mike Phelan, yeah, that could work out well for him actually.
You're losing 2-0.
Oh,
maybe it hasn't gone too well after all. Harris might get a job quicker than you think.
Yeah, he starts next week.
Yeah, after Middlesbrough.
So I think he'll get a firefighting role because they'll look and think, fuck me, that guy can keep you in the league, you know. So I don't know, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Could become a bit of a Warnocky figure, couldn't he? So is he that styly?
Oh, would we take Warnock to the end of the season? Would we take him?
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting saying that.
What's it said, Warnock?
Well, earlier I've gone to the group, to the chat guys, and asked them who they would pick. And there's a few names coming. If I just sort of go through very quickly and look out for names coming quite often. So we've got a Robbins or a Steve Cooper or a Muscat. We've got a Warnock. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, Warnock.
We've got Mark Robbins. We've got a Robbins again. Someone said Barrett again. Cooper, Schumacher, or Robbins again. Someone said have Harris back. Liam Racine.
He's in
Ryan
France,
Mason.
Mason's interesting.
We were in for Mason before, weren't we? Or at least he was in the mix, weren't he? Again, we've got Robbins, we've got Muscat. I'm sure MFC 96 is joking here. He's going for Lomas. Scott Lindsay. We've got a Muscat again. We've got a Nugent or Robert or Andy Woodman. Robbins, Steve Cooper, Muscat. Good shout here. How about Reedy? That's a fucking brilliant shout.
Yeah.
Who's Reedy?
Stephen Reed. Stephen Reed.
he's out of football now, isn't he? He's got like mental health issues and stuff.
Well,
like
he
that.
did,
Yeah,
but I think he's back in again, isn't he? I think he's back in.
But
He's
he'll fucking have mental health issues again, won't he, if he comes to us? Jesus.
Well, that's true. Yeah, skip that one. Muscat, Steve Morrison as an assistant. Cool. That'd be nice.
Just on the Muscat piece, Joe, is
Yeah.
is that same situation as what it was before? Are they mid-season, or will he is it end of season?
I think
it was that weird pit, right? Is it going to be difficult for him?
Exactly. From memory, I think that was the case, weren't it? I think he was sort of tied into it, weren't he, a little bit? And I think what I'm hearing as well, money-wise, I think he's on a decent whack out there at the moment as well. Not to mention a nice sort of little lifestyle as well.
That last comment worried me a little bit. The one about the German guy. No, the one before that. Is it Wagner? Yeah. Apparently he's been to quite a few of our games this season, mate. And he ain't my cup of tea, this guy. Nothing strong enough.
Where was his last game? Where was he then?
He got Huddersfield into the Premier League. And it didn't work out for him at Norwich.
Right, okay. Well, it does make you wonder, could he be someone who they're looking at potentially, you know?
Do you all think Cooper would be realistic?
Cooper?
Well, he hasn't had, apart from the success he had at Forest, the first time getting them up, and he had a lot of money, didn't he, as well, doing it?
I think you're going to be underwhelmed. I think that's what we've got to get ready for.
I think so.
Yeah, that's why I said, is it realistic?
Nathan Jones, would you?
Absolutely no chance.
He's doing a great job there.
I would have last time.
I'd rather him stay with them. He's doing
and get him relegated. MFC said Musk has settled in China. He won't. Yeah, I thought that. That's what I was thinking.
And if Harris can't deal with them, I don't think Muscat's going to.
No, that's right. Exactly. Lots coming through the chat. What's no thanks, Chris.
He's just got a job again. Is it Swindon or somewhere?
Yeah, he's just making sure he gets to the National League. Yeah,
and they're beating Wickham. So that bodes
well.
No,
is that not the Mickey Mouse Cup, mate? That one tonight.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. That's that trophy thing. Yeah. Papa John's thing.
Yeah. Thicko. Right, so we're getting through the last few ones.
As Paul says, it'll be someone we've probably never heard of.
There you go. So, what out of all those names there, who do you feel has come up quite a bit? I think we've seen a lot shout for Muscat and Robbins. It seems Cooper a few times as well. So, quite a lot there. So, guys, tomorrow night, just very quickly, we're playing Sheffield United, top of the table. You couldn't wish for an easier team not to play. But I've done some digging into some stats here. And again, in the chat, please don't shoot me down if these stats are wrong. But I've done some research into this, so hopefully it's correct. Millwall have won 3 of their last 4 games versus Sheffield United. Sheffield United have lost 5 of their last 6 away games versus Millwall. Millwall have won each of their last 3 home midweek games, as I mentioned before. So we've got quite a good run at home for a midweek game. Also, what's interesting is Sheffield United have won just 1 of their last. I can't believe this stat. I hope it's true. If anyone in the chat can tell me different or not. Sheffield United have won just 1 out of their last 18 league games away to sides in London. So they're not very good travellers, it seems, you know. Another big stat was Juicy Jake Cooper scored 5 goals in his last 9 games versus Sheffield United, but of course we won't have him tomorrow night, sadly, you know. So really and truly, if you're looking at stats and history, you know, we've got quite a good record against Sheffield United, particularly at home as well. So, yeah, to your point, lads, with Harris, you know, last home game in charge, getting the players motivated and up for this, you know, are you worried about tomorrow night, or can you see us sneaking a 1-0 win here, maybe?
No, I was worried about it, and more about the personnel again, because we are a bit thin on the ground, and you have the good news of Jaffet coming back, and then the bad news of bloody Lenny going out.
Lenny's suspended, but then Danny Mack can fill in, can't he? Right back.
I look, this is just, it's the classic, innit? And you hear this, it's the classic Millwall to go and win a game like that. But the facts are, it is. So I'll tell you, I'm going to go 2-1 Lions tomorrow night.
2-1 Millwall, excellent. Ben, what would you go for? What score would you go for tomorrow night? What's your prediction?
I'm going to go with the most stereotypical Neil Harris 1-0 win.
1-0 to the wall, yeah?
And let's go out in style, yeah.
That's it. Exactly. Angelo, what's your prediction for tomorrow night?
Head or heart? I think we'll lose. I think we'll lose tomorrow, but obviously I hope we don't. But yeah, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, I think Sheffield United are probably the best team in our league. I think. Yeah.
Okay, Paul. How about yourself, mate?
I'm more confident now. I'm just hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping we can get a result, but I'm with Angelo. I think it's going to be very tough. I'm just hoping we can do it for Neil Harris, basically, rather than if he weren't leaving, I think we'd have lost 2 or 3-0. I think we could have got a spanking, to be honest. But yeah, let's hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah, guys in the chat, put your predictions for tomorrow night. Neil Harris's last home game in charge. Hope that you're going to be there to watch it. It's going to be an emotional game for sure, and I think a lot of us will, on behalf of you guys and everyone else, I can think we are going to be really kind of desperately thankful for what he's done for us, and sad to see him go. I'm sure we'll see him back at the club again at some sort of capacity, but certainly tomorrow night will be an emotional one. Let's hope that the players give him a performance that he truly deserves, and let's end his home streak with a decent performance and a nice win. So scores coming through 1-1 here. We've got 1-1, 1-1, 2-1.
Can we ask Joe? Can we just, before we go, just who do us 5 want as the next manager, mate? Just
interesting. If you're happy to go, start with you first, Angelo. What do you reckon?
Oh, I would love Mascot, but I don't think we can get him. So my next choice, I'd go for Robbins, mate.
Would you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go Robbins.
But to what we were saying earlier, again.
Sorry, Joe. Also, if he is of good health now, I'd go for Mowbray. But I don't know if he's coming back to football because he loves Millwall, mate. He's always spoke very highly of the Millwall fans. So number 1 would be Mowbray, and then Robbins, mate.
Or someone like Warnock. I mean, can you imagine that a nice sort of a 5-month contract to sort of see us to the end of the season? That'd be something special. But again, can you see Warnock being told what to do and who to play and who not to play? I mean, he's old school, isn't he, Paul? I can't see him
no chance.
Going for that. No. Who'd you go for, Paul?
Mowbray's my shout. I'd like him as long as he's fit and healthy. I like the football he's always played. He's always done well against us, and he's always come out and said how he likes the fans and stuff. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. If not, I don't know much about the Wicker manager, but I'm not over the moon. But I do quite like his name is Skubala at Lincoln. I think they play really good football. They're always punching above their weight. I imagine he'd be over the moon to get a job like ours, so I can imagine him taking it and towing the line because he'd be working with better players. So that's one more that I can see that fits the bill.
They went on a mad run last season, didn't they, Paul?
They did like 14 games, wasn't it? And obviously we had Alex Mitchell there. We have Jensen's come from there, so
good point.
We can get some like good character references and stuff.
Was he a Man City coach, Paul?
I honestly don't know. I know he was abroad somewhere. I think he was out coaching abroad. I'll have a look.
I'll wait for you to do it. Let's get your prediction, Disco.
I can't believe none of you have mentioned and nobody in the chat yet. I know he's just recently got another job, but he is the absolute man that we need, Gareth Ainsworth.
Fuck off. Stop that.
With his guitar man. Yeah, baby.
With his long hair and open shirt.
No chance. I honestly, I'm not in a headspace yet as to get who. But I do like Paul's idea. Look, Mowbray, I would absolutely bite your hand off, but I can't see it in a million years. But Mowbray, everywhere he's gone, he's done a great job and played good football. And the fans love him, and you think, "Fuck me, he's an absolute gem." Would he come south, etc., etc.? And his illness, even though he's back now,
it's a big ask, isn't it? Yeah,
I can't see it. So, but then I'm gonna have to wait and see how the odds go and who the names get thrown. But I think it's going to be someone none of us know. He'll be another Joe Edwardsy style appointment.
Possibly.
They mentioned the guy, the coach who used to be at Coventry. Vivash, is it Vivash? Someone like him, people have mentioned, so don't know. People have mentioned our I forgot his bloody name, our under-21s coach as well, Nugent. You know, he's done a good bit. You know, it's a big difference in it managing the first team. So
yeah.
Oh no, sorry, long-winded.
No problem. No worries. Cheers, Disco. And Ben, lastly, what's your who would you like to get in charge?
Can you go back to Steve so we can carry on talking? I haven't got a clue, mate. Genuinely, I haven't got a clue. I'd love Mark Robbins. Who's a massive fan of his at Coventry.
Yeah,
I think
he played some nice football as well, didn't he? Mark Robbins played some good football.
Yeah. Again, players that Coventry signed were very good resale value, like Hamer. Obviously, Guy Carrer's touted. We know what he's doing. So if he had any part in that,
he's available as well.
Yeah, he might get him in. I'd love Robbins. I can't see it. I'm with Paul though. I think we're going to be underwhelmed, unfortunately. The Bloomfield, I know nothing about him. They're obviously top of the league. They've got some heavy hitters. They're doing well. Yeah, they're obviously doing all right, and they're top of the league with it. Where League One looks to be quite strong this season. So. I don't know, mate. I really don't know. I'm struggling with it. There's not many. I would love Robbins. I would love Tony Mowbray, to be honest. I would love to see him if he's coming back at all. But yeah, mate, I'm at a bit of a loss with it. Klopp's available. Yeah,
I heard he's available. Exactly. Can you imagine if Mourinho goes, you know what, fuck it, I'm not doing it at the moment, Mourinho. I'll do it for a few months. You know, that'd be something, wouldn't it? But guys, we've come to an hour and a half now, so we're going to end the show. Sadly, I just want to thank firstly the listeners, guys. We've had over 658 of you at various times on tonight, which is incredible. Thank you so much to being with us tonight. We really do appreciate that. And thank you to you guys, the panelists. Thanks for being on. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and your opinions. We do really appreciate that. And guys, you know, just to sort of say, you know, if you're going there tomorrow night, hope you guys in the chat are going there tomorrow night. Just, you know, be passionate. Let's end Harris's home record with a win. Let's give the boys a 12th man and let's try and get something over the line and hopefully we'll win it. Anything you guys want to add before we wrap up?
Wish all the best. If you do listen, Neil, thank you.
That's it.
Yeah, and just let's get behind us. We'll get behind you, and let's have the best of you for the next 3-4 days, and then good luck going forward.
And come back when Gullen's fucked off.
Yeah.
That's it, exactly. Guys, look,
thanks to Bomber, but look, we do have to let's finish on a high. We've got to get behind whoever comes in, love them or hate them, and look, let's hope it is a bloody masterstroke. You know, and you never know. Let's be positive and hope we can go on to bigger and greater things.
Yeah, love that. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night, guys. Enjoy tomorrow if you're going or if you're watching on the stream. Let's hope we get the win and give Harris the send-off he deserves. Come on, you Lions.